Good morning, guys. In this update, we got lots and lots of new features for you to enjoy. So that is coming up. One thing to say it firsthand is I'm sorry for the outage yesterday. Here you see that sometimes a small little error can mess things up immensely because the program checks like only when it starts, it pings my website once to see if the version number still matches. If it doesn't, it tells you there's an update available. Well, yesterday my website was out for a few hours because I don't know why, something happened. And it still tried to ping the website and check if the version still matches, but it got an error and it couldn't handle, you can't put the error in the label of the button, so it just crashed. So that's something for you aspiring programmers. If you make something, make sure there is like a fail-safe that if it doesn't retrieve the data, it doesn't crash it. So that is fixed, released in this video as well. But let's just talk about new features, shall we? We got ADMF, we got DME, we got the VOR, we got flaps, we got... I'm gonna look at my cheat sheet because I lost it now. Here we go. Transponder. We've got the transponder in there. We've got the ADF alternative, VOR, DME. What else? Battery, avionics. All in all, we got quite a massive update coming up. There's one thing to note though, and that is, I have no clue what half of these things do. I've got them in, something responds, something happened. If it's the right thing to happen, I don't know. I tried to look up things like the VOR, DME, ADF, and I can tune into one of the DME or VOR stations to see, your bearing and distance to it. Got that to work. I noticed that it took me a day to learn how that works and how all the data corresponds in game, but the ADF, VOR, I have no clue. I don't know how it works, I don't know how it's supposed to work. So what I kind of hope is that you guys that want to use it, of course, use it. And if it doesn't work as intended, let me know. And if you could also let me know how the data should look, that could help me out immensely, or at least where I can find it, like on the screen or on the radio, where I can find the corresponding piece of data that you think is wrong, and I will try to fix it. So now it becomes more of a, a joint venture. Talking about joint venture, you guys have been asking me to open source the software lately quite a lot. Well, the library is already on GitHub right now. That is all for you open to see. You can also go to your document folder libraries where the Arduino is installed, libraries, and check it out, the files for yourself. But the same thing will happen for the connector. The last stage that I need to do is there's a way to generate documentation from your code itself. What I've been using Excel, just copy paste the functions, etc. Isn't really that effective. Apparently there is a way to do it from the code itself. So I need to implement that, hit upload, and then you all can see how it works in the backend, and perhaps even help out if you like to, because I know lots of you have messaged me like, hey, I want to add features, can I help? So that is also in a way. Tomorrow or the day after will be it. So not next week, tomorrow or the day after. Great. Now let's just dive right in. If you want to keep updated, subscribe and let me know what you think. So while the game is loading up, let's just dive into the first things that we can actually see. I know last time I forgot the refresh button on the input side, so that is now fixed as well. You can hit refresh here and it will refresh only this one. So if you want to refresh here, you need to refresh this button. If you want to refresh here, you need to press this button. But at least it's working now on both screens. Another thing that I already mentioned is that this little button, new update available. If I click it, I go to my website, so it checks on my website. It just strips. There is a HTML file that only contains like version 0.7 right now, 0.0. It retrieves the file, extracts the 0.7, doesn't match with 0.6.9, it doesn't, so a new update is available. Now, if my site is down like yesterday, It tries to retrieve the data, it returns an error message. It then tries to put the error message in this box. Doesn't it work, it will crash to desktop. So I fixed that. If there's no connection, it just won't say anything. It just says there's no update available, and it's fine. A known issue still though is the status messages. If I go to the output, it displays it correctly for the first time, if it's connected or if it isn't connected. Once you stop the connection, it still says it's successfully connected, even though there is no connection, which can lead to some confusion. And at the input side, it didn't work properly as well. Oh, where did it go? Yeah. So that is something that's coming up in the next patch. I just didn't have enough time to fix that after I found it out. Now, like I mentioned, comms, lots of new features to retrieve data. But the most things that have been added, let's just grab the library. Here we go. Is on the sending side. DME, VOR, ADF, transponder, avionics master on, avionics master off, battery. All in all, quite some new features. Like I mentioned, the ADF, I don't know how it works. VOR, no clue. DME, I'm not quite sure either, but we're gonna see. Let's try the easy modes. Right now, the first thing I wanted to show you is the transponder. And then we're going to show you in a second why, because that's something that's new that we can now use. Right now it says 2456, right? I need to start So I go to my inputs, I got my Leonardo hooked up. I'm going to start, I can use any Arduino that has serial capabilities. I'm going to hit start. I'm going to see what happens if we... I got this keypad hooked up, a transponder only, can input from 0 to 7. So the 8 and 9 I can press, I don't have anything, it's just a quick sketch. So let's say 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I've entered this with the keypad, and if I hit A, I'm gonna send it to the game. As you're able to tell, it has 4, 5, 6, 7 in it right now. Now I can override it, and just like if I do it in here, you get this. I'm gonna do the same. If I hit 4, 8, 8, 8. Now this shouldn't be possible, right? Because the 8 isn't in the transponder, so we're gonna hit send. It's just gonna turn it to 0, 0, 0. So it won't crash anything, it won't break anything, but it won't give you the right information. So 4, 5, 4, 2, 3. Send it, 5, 4, 2, 3. We could do the same even with, let's see, I'm gonna swap the, I'm gonna change the radio frequency, 135.86. On the B key, I have a hard-coded frequency setup. So if I hit B, 121.255. See, so I literally, let's grab sketch. Here I said connector.send standby com set. And then I pass it a nullified char array. I'm going to show you in a second. 121.255. So if I would change this to 200, hit upload. And you can make this dynamically with a keyboard, with this touchpad, whatever. Everything's possible as long as you stick to the format. So don't put the dot in there. I don't know how it handles that. So if I hit start, here we go. And now we go ahead and hit the B again, and it will change it to 200. See? If fine, if I change it again, it will change back to 121 to 200. That's something new. I got it working with the COM1 and COM2 and the transponder, as you were able to tell down below. There are some other set functions already in the documentation, but they are still inoperable. So don't try to set the nav yet. I'm working on, they'll need a little bit of tweaking to get it right. So these are coming. I'm already glad that this works properly. Even with the 805, that was something that didn't work. So a little cheat, sometimes when you code, you need to cheat a little. So input worker, let's see. Here we go. If something comes in, I'm going to check if you divide it by itself divided by 10. If the remainder is 5, so the rest value, so 805, so if you divide it by itself, divide by 10, 5 is what remains. Then we're just gonna add another click to add 0.5 as a button input. It works, it's fine, so I'm just gonna keep it in. So we got that working. Like I said, we got the VOR DME working. Let's see if I can hook into the station. I got them in as inputs as well, but I want to show you the outputs. 108.4, I believe. I got my dual rotary encoders, concentric rotary encoders coming in. So if I switch, I believe this was it. Yeah, 1 nautical mile. Now if I switch to inputs. Okay, so what we've got is the ADF frequency, this one. So if I change it, see 79, changes with it. And I can swap it somehow, I don't know. No. Okay, let's first grab the code so I know what data is coming in, because I didn't know exactly what was happening. We got the ADF active frequency 1, standby frequency 2, ADF signal. I don't know what that one is, so don't quote me on that. Transponder code 5423. Let's see. Corresponds. Now let's see what else do we have in there. The distance to the third line. Yeah, the distance, the nav DME 1, the distance from it, so 1 nautical mile, which is correct because we can see that in here, I believe. See, I know, I did my study a bit. Here we go. Get nav for lesson alt. Okay, yeah, that was something that really didn't work yet, to get the position of the VOR station. So I'm still working that out. It comes in as a strange kind of data. So I'm not quite sure. So yeah, as we're able to tell, this can change, and it changes the data as well. I don't know how to switch. See, this is the point that I was talking about. I have no clue what is happening. But it works. And that's the main key of this update. Let me know if it doesn't work, because I don't know. I don't know how the ADF works. I got this to work. I looked up the charts. Now what I did to check if this works, I actually searched for the chart of Amsterdam, looked up the megahertz code of the VOR DME, put it in as frequency, and I listened to the Morse codes. See? So that's the most part that I learned for this update. I know that this one is a distance from the station itself. So that works. You retrieve the data, you can send the transponder, send the comms, you can send all kinds of commands, and they all work fine. It's just that I need some of the help of you guys to let me know if they actually work properly. Now the flaps are in there, they're pretty straightforward. We have several... Where is my mouse? Now, if you take a look at the library, we can send the flaps up. We can put it at 1, 2, and 3, like the set spots. Flaps down, flaps increment, and flaps decrement. Pretty straightforward. Swap com1, swap com2, we're all already in there. Only thing I want to show you still is the avionics and the master battery. So perhaps if you want to start up a Cessna or something, you can use it. There are these 4 buttons. Now, do note, in the A320, I love it and I hate it. It has battery 1 and battery 2. If you use the toggle for battery 1 and 2, the only thing that happens is that it can turn it off 1 and 2. Can't turn it back on, can only turn it back off. Something to keep in mind if you're testing it and you're like, Dave, it doesn't work. I know, I spent 5 to 6 hours testing it in that plane, and it wouldn't outright wouldn't work. In different planes it does. So let's just see how it works in this plane, and let's get rolling. Okay, so I written a new piece of code that just checks if the C or D is pressed on the touchpad, so I didn't have to hook up new buttons. So if I'm correct, let's see, avionics. Avionics 1 is connected right now. This is the off button, the C, and the D should be the on button. See how this works? Same goes for the master battery. The only difference is the master battery is actually a toggle. There is no on or off state you can set. You can only set battery 1 toggle. So that means in reality that even we also have an alternator. So let's just hook it up so we can see what happens. Okay, so I've put toggle 1 on one side and toggle 2 on the master battery and the alternator on the other side. So if I'm correct, yeah, this is the master battery on off. And this should be the alternator. As we're able to tell, that one doesn't. Here we go, hit uploads. And I like the ease of it that you can swap in and out of buttons without having to do that much kind of hard work. So giving myself compliments here. So we go back into the plane once it loaded up. Does this plane have a master alternator? Oh, standby alternator, yeah. And this is the master battery? Yeah, here we go. So now we can see that we got the master battery, the alternator, both in there and working individually. Even works with battery 1 and 2 in most planes except the A320. Now, having the master battery and the master alternator and the avionics working means that we can start working on these buttons, right? I've got the toggle switches in the mail today. So that means that we can start creating our own little Cessna panel. So that's coming up, which you can see in a video later on. Okay, so let's just go over this. One thing that we now also have is the propeller handling, which can be started by just selecting propeller handling. I've loaded up the Cessna Caravan. Right, yeah. Let's see. I don't know how to turn anything on. Doesn't matter. We're gonna do the inputs. Here we go. So I've got it hooked up to my slider right here. So if I now increase it or decrease it, it moves or moves upright. So that's something that is now working. There is a algorithm in place to actually filter out most of the jittering. Let's see if I see it sometimes jitters when it's in between values, which is normal. Here it is. Also depends on the quality and if there's dust in it, etc.
TOS system test. Okay.
But it's quite responsive. It's a value that's called EMEA. Here we go. We could increase this value to, let's say, 1.0. So set EMA 1.0. Upload codes. Stop the connector as one. Okay, so now we're going to start it. What we're quite instantly able to tell is, see how it jitters quite heavily. Now, if it changes back to 0.1, or you can just leave it blank, upload a sketch, and it will just take default value of 0.1. So if I now hit upload, let's stop this one. We're going to hit start, and now we're going to look at the same. See, it's quite stable right now. So it's a big improvement. It takes away a bit of the precision. So if you want to fine tune it, use the set EMA function. I'm going to put it in the documentation as well, so you can read on it up on it on your own. And you can just initiate it by using the propeller handles, and you have to give it the input pot pin and the pot pin of the Second propeller can be the same, there's no issue. If you only have one propeller or one potentiometer, and you give it a max value of 1023.0. Now it may differ on some other microcontrollers, that's why I give you guys the opportunity to change this value to the max value you desire. So that's something new. I've applied the same concept to the throttle. So there should be less jitter on there as well. It isn't completely gone unless you also do some hardware filtering, etc. But that is fixed for now. Now let's see if I can... What did this do? These are the flaps. I got the flaps hooked up to the C and the D. See how it goes up and down. So we got that working as well. For now, I would say just dive in, have fun with all the things that you want to use. Everything will be updated and available in the description down below. If you like this video, leave a like, and if you want to keep updated, subscribe. And I'm gonna stop talking, go fly, enjoy it. If there's anything wrong, let me know and I'll get back to work. So thank you very much. Have a nice day.